Hello, hello, hello. It is going to take some time for people to come streaming in here because I saw I had two things set and I thought it was today and Friday, but instead I have Friday and the next Friday. My apologies. So it's going to take a minute for people to realize we're live streaming, but we are. We are live streaming. And that is because the book is getting good and I want to catch up. And Sister Wives is beginning and holidays are around the corner. And I just know things are going to come up. And I thought I'd just put it off for an hour to let people know it's coming up in an hour. But I think we're going to read a lot tonight. I do. I think I'm going to read a lot. I think I'm going to do 3 chapters and it's a lot. The 3rd chapter is very long. Hello. Hi, Joni. Hi, Wendy. Yes, well, here we are. Yeah, I set up 2 live streams. I thought it was Wednesday and Friday. It was Friday and next Friday, of which next Friday I can't even do. My kids are all in town for the Labor Day weekend. So we'll talk about that another time. Hi, Maureen. Glad to have you here, our resident UKian. I know that's not a word, but I'm going to start pretty quickly here. So I apologize that there was no advance notice. I set it up really quick and just hit go live. So as you trickle in, feel free to join in. And when it's all over, go back and just rewatch the beginning of it. Because what I want to read today are 13, 14, and 15, which is a lot because 15 is 20 pages long. Some of the other ones are only like 8 pages and all that because the print's tiny. And it's 20 pages, but that's okay. We're going to do it. So we're going to read A Troubled Prince, The Catch, and Exposed. Exposed. I think all 3 of them are going to be good, quite frankly. So, in all the craziness, I forgot to officially put on my crown. There we go. I am Her Royal Highness Jenny. Hot Mess Express. All right. Oh my gosh. I just can't even. All right, let's try this. Maybe these clips are in the way. Let's see if we can do it this way. It might work better. Hold it in. Not really, but we're going to just go with it. Okay. My pink glasses match the chapter numbers today. All right. Good to see everyone. Hi, Liz. Lynn Skinner, thank you for being here too, our infamous moderator. I think everyone else I saw, Janice is here as well. Okay, all right. Look at all of you jumping right in, and I had no advanced warning whatsoever. I love you all. Let's start. A Troubled Prince. This ought to be good. I didn't realize he was really the victim right from the get-go in this. All right. In 2016, Prince Harry was a damaged, insecure, and underemployed 31-year-old. Over the previous 15 years, he had become notorious in the media as a wild party animal. Yet, despite a series of incidences, dressing up as a Nazi for a party, calling a fellow Sandhurst cadet a Pocky, and drunkenly, or is it a Packy? I'm sorry, it's obviously a slur, and I'm not even sure what it is for, so. Is it related to Pakistani? Is that all right, I'm not even going to guess. I don't know. I have no idea. But obviously it's bad. And drunkenly attacking a photographer outside a nightclub. Okay, so if it's equal to being drunk and attacking a person and dressing up as a Nazi, whatever that word is, it's not good. Harry was always forgiven after apologies by a Buckingham Palace spokesman. Unlike his father, Harry was wildly adored as a good lad who many men and women wanted to protect. But beyond the public's gaze, Harry had become, over recent months, lonely and forlorn. Watching William's happiness with Kate and their two children, he had become vulnerable. Meghan Markle's research of Harry highlighted the reasons for his unhappiness. But even she could not have grasped the depths of his despair before they met. The loss of a parent is a tragedy for any child. The loss is often mitigated by love from the surviving parent, by grandparents, and sometimes by a step-parent. But in 1997, when Diana died shortly before his 13th birthday, Harry was unusually helpless. Throughout his childhood, Diana had tolerated her son's problems. Without constraints, young Harry was known to his mother's staff as a contrarian who did the opposite of what he was told to do. As he grew up, he became increasingly undisciplined. His father and his Wilder family watched helplessly as the boy refused to behave and rejected education. After he unsuccessfully tried to pass his entrance exam to Eton, his relations recognized that Harry's ignorance was spilling over into arrogance. The reality was concealed during Diana's funeral. The image of the grieving boy walking behind Diana's coffin through London evoked heartfelt sympathy across the world. Harry would claim that the funeral had a profound effect. Quote, "I think the hardest thing was the walk," said William in 2017. "It was a very long, lonely walk. It was that balance between duty and family. And that's what we had to do." Harry's anchor over the following months were his grandparents, his father Charles, and his loving nanny Tiggy Leggy Burke. We'll just go with Tiggy here on forward. "He was there for us," Harry said in his early 20s of Charles. "He tried to do his best and make sure we were protected and looked after. But he was going through the same grieving process." Harry's most important relationship was with William. 2 years older, William was more intelligent, but as the older brother, more affected by his parents' tempestuous relationship. "I hate you, Papa. I hate you so much," he shouted at Charles while witnessing yet another argument with Diana. "Why do you make Mummy cry all the time?" Unforgiving towards Charles, William explained to Harry the reality of their father's adultery. Both blamed Camilla for their mother's unhappiness and the destruction of the parents' marriage. They resented that in the aftermath of their parents' divorce, Charles had devoted his time to shoring up his faltering status and consolidating his relationship with Camilla. After Diana's death, Charles' attempts to build a close relationship with his sons were undermined by his adultery. William was outrightly antagonistic towards Charles, while Harry, after entering Eton on his second attempt, was slightly more tolerant. Both for some time avoided meeting Camilla when she was staying at Clarence House, Charles's London home. Their dislike was rainy, radiated? Okay. Their dislike was something after Camilla was blamed for Tiggy's departure. Oh, the nanny left. Well, I guess, he's 13. You still have a nanny? I guess if you're royalty, you do still have a nanny when you're 13. Bound together through divorce, tragedy, and anger, the The brothers' survival depended upon their mutual dependence. Caring for Harry from the day he was born, William was as unhappy as his brother. Rude at school, Basher Wills could not resist asserting his privilege, sometimes violently, reminding outsiders of his destiny as a future king. Interesting, I never saw that side of William before. Seeking peace and acceptance, Charles tolerated that audacity. Spending his time with Camilla or away on official duties, Charles turned a blind eye to his wayward teenage sons. He had converted a basement in Highgrove for their weekend parties. In his absence, the club, renowned for generous supplies of alcohol and a tolerance of drugs, was hosted by hot-headed William, with Harry in close support. Whenever trouble erupted, Harry inevitably took the blame to protect their heir and conceal his explosive temper. I should have gotten another drink before this. I panicked when I saw there was no setup. That's okay. If I have to in a second, I'll run to the next room. I have a drink over there. We'll keep going. In 2000, after William left school for a gap year, Harry, aged 15, it's in quotation marks, Harry, age 15, that's so young to be doing drugs, renamed Highgrove's basement as Club H. The host became notorious for excessive drinking and smoking. 2 years later, after William had started at St. Andrews University, the News of the World illegally tapped a mobile telephone, discovering Highgrove parties, and proclaimed, "World exclusive, Harry's drugs shame." The newspaper's headline in January of 2002 was somewhat contrived. William was probably more culpable than Harry, but as Charles's advisor, Mark Boland, insisted, William has to look perfect and Harry has to take the strain. In protecting the heir, Harry did not protest. William liked to be in control, and Harry uncritically accepted his brother's power. However, the newspaper's dishonesty rankled. R-A-N-K-L-E-D. Harry was aware that the News of the World convinced, that must be the name of a paper. News of the World, it's capitalized and italicized. Harry was aware that the News of the World convinced that Charles was not his father, was seeking a strand of his hair to check whether the DNA matched that of James Hewitt, Diana's boyfriend of 5 years. I remember when that was all going down. Do you remember that? Because he really looked so much like that. Was he a polo player or something like that? She was dating for a while and he was a redhead. He just looked a lot like Harry. Okay. The newspaper failed, and Buckingham Palace dismissed the suggestion by explaining that their affair had started more than 1.5 years after Harry's birth, making it impossible. But his own legitimacy troubled Harry. Some in the palace were convinced that Diana did have an unnamed lover after William's birth, and that man, rather than Charles, was Harry's father. She was known to have an affair with Barry Manicky, her protection officer, in 1985, the year after Harry's birth. It was still not known whether she had a lover in late 1983. The rumors disquieted Harry, not least because, quite apart from Charles, there were other embarrassing burdens. Until the serialization, that is a word I've never ever seen, serialization in June 1992 of Andrew Morton's book Diana, Her True Story, few believed that Charles had abandoned Diana or that she was unhappy. Because Diana was rich and beautiful, there weren't many that truly thought her problems would be so serious. Buckingham Palace distrusted the book's veracity until The Sun published a sound tape of Diana, alias Squidgy, speaking to James Ghibli, a married boyfriend. And the Sunday Mirror published a tape of Charles speaking to Camilla in the most lurid sexual terms. Oh, that was so gross. Among Charles's asides was his joke that he could end up as a Tampax with his luck to be chucked down a lavatory and never going down. I don't even remember that part. I just remember him saying he wanted to be with her and in her. Anyway, the sensational portrayal of Diana, lonely and distraught, damaged Charles. Thereafter, the royal family scandal were rarely off the front pages. In quick succession, Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson separated. Prince Anne divorced Mark Phillips, and on the 9th of December 1992, Diana and Charles legally separated. While the ruins of Windsor Castle were still being repaired after a fire, Jonathan Dimbley's authorized biography of Charles and his TV documentary in 1994 not only confirmed the heir's long-term relationship with Camilla, period, end of sentence. Okay, moving on. It also led to the exposure of Diana's 5-year affair with Captain James Hewitt, which had ended in 1991. In the Battle of the Waleses, Diana scored the last penalty in a Panorama interview in November of 1995. I remember when this was like going back and forth like a tennis match. "There were 3 of us in this marriage," she told the BBC, "so it was a bit crowded." Neither Charles nor Diana considered the damage to their children these interviews caused, justifying Harry's complaint years later. "All sorts of grief and lies and misconceptions are coming to you from every angle." End quote. Oh, I guess that was Harry saying that. The brothers grew up convinced that the media had killed their mother. Saintly Diana, in their opinion, was destroyed by journalists who pursued her relentlessly. For years, the paparazzi had chased and provoked their mother for profit. A single photograph could be worth thousands of pounds. She had fallen victim to their dishonesty. Neither prince wanted to accept that Diana played the media for her own advantage. Regularly, she tipped off photographers about her whereabouts and posed for pictures. She eagerly collaborated with journalists to wreak revenge on Charles, especially with Andrew Morton, the Daily Mail's Richard Kay, and Martin Brashear, on the basis of his deception. Her motives were complex and sown during her own unhappy childhood and later as she tried to pick up the pieces of her wrecked life. Neither son understood what those close to Diana witnessed: their mother's remorseless self-destruction. They were too young to understand her intimate relationships with a series of racy men. Most spectacularly, her profound unhappiness had driven her to take a bizarre decision in the summer of 1997 and rely on Mohammed al-Fayed, the serially dishonest Egyptian businessman who owned Harrods. Some would blame Diana's longing for publicity. Others explained that her reaction to the perpetual onslaught of allegations that she was inadequate, incompetent, mentally ill, unfaithful to her husband was to respond to the criticism head on rather than allow her critics and the media to triumph. No one underestimated Diana's own excitement about the global interests that she aroused. She was an icon, exuding breathtaking glamour and beauty. Her magic and mystery intensified every time she met the sick and sad. Seeing herself as a casualty who searched for fellow victims to both share and alleviate their suffering, she eluded any universally agreed description. Controversial in life, she left a troubling legacy. During his 20s, William visited his mother's family and friends to try to fill the gaps about Diana. Harry resisted that disturbing tour. He preferred to believe the Hollywood fiction that his mother had been murdered by the paparazzi's relentless pursuit of her into the Paris tunnel. Quote, I think it was a classic case of don't let yourself think about your mum, end quote, he would later explain. Quote, and the grief and the hurt that comes with it, because it's never going to bring her back and it's only going to make you more sad. My way of dealing with it was just basically shutting it out, locking it out, end quote. Years after Diana's death, Harry recalled complaining to his father about the turmoil he was suffering at school as a member of the royal family and the legacy of a broken family. Profoundly unhappy, Harry willfully destroyed other boys' property at Eton. Once, cutting up the pencil case of a fellow student. Well, it was like that for me, Charles allegedly said to him. So it's going to be like that for you, Harry observed. That doesn't make sense. Just because you suffer doesn't mean that your kids have to suffer. Throughout his life, Harry forgot that Diana was also a victim of a broken family. Her own mother, alias the Bolter, abandoned Diana at age 9 for another man. Diana spent her wrecked childhood shuttling between her selfish parents. And while Harry was at school, Diana had endless affairs, often with married men. Well, that's no bueno, Diana. Amid that emotional maelstrom, Harry gained merely 2 A levels. After 5 years at Eton, Britain's best-known school, Harry scored a grade B in art and a grade D in geography. Most Etonians would expect to achieve at least 3 A's. Harry's results reflected his record stuck at the bottom of his class. Unsuited for university, he needed a career. I spent many years kicking my heels and I didn't want to grow up, he admitted. Angry and emotional, his male friends tolerated his wish to be the naughtiest in the room. At a loss, Harry was frequently seen in nightclubs, especially bougies, in Kensington, with society blondes, leaving in the early hours, sometimes covered in vomit after a drunken wrestling with friends. One pub banned him for allegedly calling a barman a fucking frog. Pessimistic and cynical, he cursed the media for reporting those incidences. There's a part of me that goes, oh, poor kid, everything you say. I've never spoken like that in my life. So it would never get put into a book or on television. So there's that side of it too. There's the side of, oh, poor boy, he can't just be himself and a teenager and say what he wants. And then there's the other part of him that's like, or maybe he can just behave himself and not worry about that. Thinking, all right. Just some thoughts that came to my mind. Most girls made little noticeable impression on him until 2004 when he met Chelsea Davy, an attractive, intelligent, independently minded university graduate from a Zimbabwean farming family. Both were party animals enjoying drugs, drinking, and sex. Davy discovered his need for a girlfriend who could also be like a mother. The trouble is, Harry later told General Richard Dannett over a drink in Kensington Palace, I'm not like any other young man. It's difficult to be normal. William avoided those problems. In 2004, he was not seeking a substitute for Diana. He was in a deep relationship with a fellow student at the University of St. Andrews, Kate Middleton, and anchored into her calm, middle class, ordinary family. Confident as an undergraduate, he also understood the expectations of being an heir. During his school years at Eton, he had regularly walked across the bridge for Sunday lunch with the Queen and Prince Philip in Windsor Castle. During those afternoons, a monarch had given gentle advice to her grandson, guiding him to resist controversy. He should not be meddlesome like his father, nor attract criticism for his taste in ostentatious luxury. Harry liked ostentatious luxury? And that's funny. Huh. Okay. I mean, I'm none the wiser either way. I just don't picture him caring. But apparently he did, according to the book. By contrast, no one seemed willing to solve Harry's raw misery. Permanently frustrated, he appeared alternatively charming, spoiled, badly educated, simple-minded, and demanding. Cooped up in a Kensington palace, he could not escape the royal straitjacket, the formality of the staff, and the rigid requirements. Even friends had difficulty defining his interests in life. Harry's salvation was the army. In 2005, he applied to enter the military academy at Sandhurst. His examiners were perplexed by his childish answers in the entry exam. Had he not been the prince, he would have been rejected. That's great to know that people who aren't qualified are being accepted into such important positions in our military. Okay. Being in the army, he later said, was the best escape I've ever had. I felt as though I was really achieving something. I have a deep understanding of all sorts of people from different backgrounds, and I felt that I was part of a team. His transformation started with his secret posting to Afghanistan's Helmand province in 2007 as a forward air controller. I wasn't a prince, I was just Harry, he said, reminiscing about his joy of being Officer Wales. From behind Camp Bastion's high walls, he saw nothing of the country except during missions to kill the enemy. Shot from the swooping helicopter. Orders were obeyed, but he could not have known whether the dead were hapless innocents or Taliban fighters. He could not understand the complications of that country, nor consider the hopelessness of the Allied plan to build a viable liberal nation. Harry never questioned his military mission. 10 weeks after arriving, his posting was leaked by a German magazine. The security threat was unimaginable. He had to be hastily evacuated. I felt very resentful, he said, adding another reason to loathe the media after newspapers published photographs of him, 2012, playing nude pool with strip girls in Las Vegas. Wow, we're kind of jumping around in some of these, aren't we? Like at one point we were talking about Harry, then all of a sudden we were talking about William, but I just let that go. But now I feel like we're talking about him being outed, but now we're going back to, okay, anyway. Too much soldier, not enough prince, quipped Harry in regret. Further training as an Army helicopter pilot led to a second 20-week tour in Helmand. Reluctantly, he left the Army in 2015. Contrary to the version propagated by the Sussex's self-styled spokesman and the royal editor for Harper's Bazaar, Omid Scobie, that he had taken a tough decision to leave. Harry really had no choice. His lack of academic qualifications barred him from a future promotion. So, Eton Maureen, our resident Londonian, I'm going to keep coming up with names. Eton was the grammar school, wasn't it? And then St. Andrews is the college that William went to. And am I to understand that Harry didn't go to college? But that doesn't make sense because he claims that he enjoyed being Officer Wales. And you're an officer. You go in as an officer if you have a 4-year degree. So I'm a little confused to the timing of all this. I mean, he's throwing out dates, but I just can't keep track of it all. I'm also jumping around to different events. All right. Well, if you know, put it in the chat. So they're saying he had to leave the army because he was found out, but he couldn't go back. He left the army in 2015, contrary to the version propagated by the Sussex's spokesman that he had taken a tough decision to leave. He really had no choice. His lack of academic qualifications barred him from further promotion. Okay. Yeah, it makes it sound like he never went. Oh, Maureen, Eton is a private prep school. St. Andrews is a university. Yeah, so did he ever go to St. Andrews? They never really mentioned it, except for in reference to William. It seems like right after high school, he just went off into the army. And then left it in 2015. Oh, he left it in 2015, but the nude photo was in 2012. Okay, he applied in 2005. He got accepted simply because he was a prince, because his answers were so childish. So he was still there in 2007. He must have been on leave when he was in Vegas in 2012. And then in 2015 is when there was a leak that where he was, and then they pulled him out, but they couldn't put him back in another location because he just didn't have the academic qualifications to promote him anymore. Why couldn't they just keep him at the same rank? Okay. Harry's reunion to civilian life and the resumption of royal duties were undetermined by Chelsea Davies' decision to end their relationship. After their wild years together, she wanted to settle down, but not as a member of the royal family. The uncompromising rules, restrictions, exposure, and expectations were unacceptable to her. She wanted a normal life. Ouch. Sorry, my cat. Okay. Claws and teeth all around my ankle at the same time. We're good now. She laid back down. Hi. Okay, moving on. Harry at first rekindled his relationship with an aspiring actress, Cressida Bonus, daughter of Lady Mary Gay Curzon, who was one of the most beautiful women of her generation. Like Harry, Bonus was interested in mental illness. She too, in 2014, left Harry, a man who always feared photographers and demanded protection. Both women, like others, ouch, Cosette, hey, ow, no. She's mad because I've been sitting here all day because today was the first day of speech therapy back. School's back in session. Yeah. So we didn't do our usual middle of the day she naps on the bed and I bring out my laptop and work. She didn't like change. Okay. All right. So this other Cressida left him as well. Both women, like others Harry met, discovered he lacked class. How can you grow up knowing nothing but the royal family and lack class? Like, it's just you eat it, you breathe it, you drink it, you live it. That's crazy. I mean, talk about bucking the establishment. Really just not caring. He was unromantic, unserious, short-tempered, and imperious. Throughout the relationship, he had behaved without generosity. In a dig at him on his engagement to Meghan, Bonus would post a message alongside a sketch of a boy and a girl on swings. It says, quote, "No matter how educated, talent, rich, or cool you believe you are, how you treat people ultimately tells all." End quote. Oh my. Soap opera in real life. She added the comment to that saying, "Truth." All right. He seemed entitled. He didn't treat women well or anything because he felt like they should be grateful to be with him. So he didn't need to be extra nice to them. Returning to civilian life after the army was harder than Harry expected. Finding a worthwhile job alongside his royal duties aggravated what he called total chaos, caused by his personal problems. He had first recognized his problems 3 years earlier in 2012. "I just didn't know what was wrong with me," he later said. "I had probably been very close to a complete breakdown on numerous occasions." He added, "Anyone can suffer from mental health problems, even a member of the royal family." Before he left the army in 2014, William had been his savior. "My brother was a huge blessing," he kept saying. "This is not right. This is not normal. You need to talk about stuff." On William's advice, he visited a therapist. "Once I started doing therapy," he later said, "it was like the bubble burst. The therapist stoked his anger." Ugh. It's not the first time that I've heard of a not so great therapist that just wants to keep dredging things up and just talking and rehashing, and that people just become like extra sad and depressed going. That whole purpose of digging it up, and I think to address it and then bury it, but I don't think the addressing and burying part happens. Maybe because the longer you're messed up, the longer you go. I don't know. I'm not against therapy, just so you know. Just saying, not everyone's great. Like Diana, Harry found respite from his torment by helping fellow sufferers. In 2013, he was inspired to create an international athletic and sports competition for injured soldiers, especially those who had served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Called the Invictus Games for the Unconquered, he won the admiration of former servicemen. He listened sincerely to those less fortunate than himself. Quote, "I have a job I absolutely love," end quote, said a man who felt needed. His natural talent to empathize during royal visits, just as his mother had done, broke down barriers with the wider public. Hugging children, laughing, and joshing with athletes, Harry had found an outlet for his emotions. That's good. His race against Usain Bolt during a visit to Jamaica reinforced the monarchy's popularity, whose zenith was marked by the Queen's Diamond Jubilee in 2012. Guitarist Brian May played on Buckingham Palace's roof, and the Queen appeared in a film with James Bond, the actor Daniel Craig, skydiving into the 2012 London Olympics. 2 billion viewers had watched William and Kate marry on the 29th of April that previous year. The Queen became the world's best known and admired celebrity. Harry, the charming prince, became the second most popular royal after the Queen. Whew, how the mighty fall. Among royalists, there was additional relief that Harry and William were so close. Even better, the public saw Harry laughing with William and Kate on stage to champion the Royal Foundation, a charity established by the trio for their special causes, especially mental health. Harry described his main role in life was to support William as king. Beyond the Invictus Games and his ceremonial duties, Harry's purpose remained elusive. Some speculated that he resented his brother. Perhaps he begrudged being the fall guy for William during their teenage years. Others believed he was jealous that William was happily married with 2 children. Some wondered, after the birth of Prince George, whether he had been destabilized now that his responsibility as the spare had disappeared. His importance within the royal family would certainly diminish. The pressure of public life, he revealed, was intolerable. Every single time I was in any room with loads of people, which is quite often, he said, I was just pouring my sweat, my heart beating, boom, 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 boom. Literally, just like a washing machine. I was just pouring with sweat. In May of 2016, Roya Nika, the Sunday Times royal correspondent, met Harry during the Invictus Games in Orlando. She was struck that the charming, funny prince she had met over the years had become a sullen, haunted rebel. During their conversation, Harry presented the official line, quote, I absolutely adore my grandmother and I would take on everything she wants us to, end quote, but also revealed his melancholy. The idea of family and marriage, he said, would be absolutely fantastic. Finding a wife, he admitted, was stymied by the few opportunities to get out there and meet people. 5 years later, he was more candid. Quote, I was thinking, I don't want this job. I don't want to be here, end quote. In hindsight, many realized that Harry was looking to escape. On Friday, the 1st of July, Harry was in France with his father, brother, and David Cameron, the Prime Minister. They were visiting I probably should know the name of this. SOMME, Somme or Somme, to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the start of the battle. At the end of a solemn day, the group returned to London. Harry sped off from Norholt Airport towards Soho, unaware of how the next hours would change his life. All right, so he's off for a date at Soho. Okay, this one is a little bit shorter, and then we've got our long one. Okay, but I am going to go get my drink because I'm not going to make it through all that without a beverage. So for your entertainment, since I did not play it as an intro, I am going to play it right now for you. I have to pull it up. It's a separate video. I can't save it under intro because it's too long.
checklist.
Seat as though I was like, pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty. Like, was that okay?
But wait, there's more.
The conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title. And also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
Hold up.
Hold up.
There's
Stop
several
right now.
there's several conversations.
There's a
about
conversation with you
with Harry
about how dark your baby is going to be?
potentially and what that would mean or look like.
Oprah, they're so racist. That's not racist. Because even black people want to know how brown the baby gonna be.
That conversation I am never going to share.
Ooh, this is uncomfortable.
We'll talk when we get home.
Well, hello. We're back from our break and ready to continue on with chapter 14, which is called The Catch. And I have a friend here who is just so jealous that I am still sitting here at the desk talking to people in the computer. I'll put it down. Maybe you can watch her as I read. Yeah. You going to be a good girl? We'll see. The Catch. This would be, I suppose, Meghan catching him, I suppose, is what we're looking at. Oh, that's not a nice angle. You're so rude. Show people your tuchus. All right, here we go. The Catch. Harry had never heard of Meghan Markle, but he trusted the judgment of his childhood friend Violet von Westenholz. Nothing would be lost meeting the unknown actress for a drink. A close friend would later say that one question Harry asked very carefully of von Westenholz was about Meghan's appearance. He is shallow, isn't he? They're perfect for each other. Exactly what did she mean about Meghan's background? Her biography on Google was enticing. Meghan's Google search was more forensic. As the master of online research for the TIG, she instinctively searched Google for information. The fun-loving prince, she discovered, had adopted Diana's compassion as a prop to support his own emotional needs. He had not only set up the Invictus Games, but was also involved with Sentable, a charity he created in Diana's memory to help HIV sufferers in Lesotho. Gosh, I feel like I should know that. That can't be a country. That's got to be a city, right? I'm embarrassed if it's the name of a country in Africa. I've never seen it before. Saving Africa's animals was clearly also important for him. Her 2 visits to Rwanda would prove useful. Her philanthropic activism was an advantage. Meeting Harry on the 1st of July 2016 came at a critical moment for Meghan, nearly 35 years old. She mentioned to Gina that her biological clock was tick-tock ticking. She wanted children. If they clicked, she could fulfill her ambition for global celebrity. She knew exactly how. During their conversation, she could reassure him. He was the one, Harry later revealed, the very first time we met. She was. Sorry, I'm watching my cat's tail move. I gotta stop being distracted here. She was the one, Harry later revealed, the very first time we met. It is a country. Joni, did you know that? Or did you look that up? Tell me you Googled it. Now, the Scentable charity I've heard of. And I know that he's not associated with it now because they essentially kicked him out of it. That's what I loved about the line, their firstborn. Somebody wrote, Harry's got a cute tuchus. Scentable, that's pretty close. I think it is slightly off, but it's pretty close. It is pretty close to what it sounds like. So Scentable is based in Lesotho. Okay. Where's the country of Lesotho? Please write in the chat if there's anybody else who's never heard the name of that country. Make me feel better. I clearly don't know all my countries in the world. Jeez. Oh, Cosette has a cute butt. I thought it said Harry. Yes. She's a clean cat. You have a cute tuchus. Yeah. All right. Where are we? Now I'm trying to move so that she doesn't I don't know what you're doing over there. You can tell it's like it's her first day of school too, where everything has changed. So I feel guilty. Normally I don't let her on the desk. But this is only like the 50th time she's jumped up here today because she's like, oh, pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. Okay. Lesotho. Anybody else not know that it was a country in South Africa? Anybody? Lesotho is the naked pool capital of the world? What? Let her always be on camera. Unlike Harry, I didn't flunk geography back in the dark ages when they taught it. You know what? I hated geography when I was in high school. I am interested in it now. I should find, I'm sure that there's probably a million online games I can find to play, like match this countries to their continents or something like that. Because there's a lot of them. It can't be that big. Please tell me it's not a big country in South Africa. Okay, nobody's saying, no kidding, never heard of it. Okay, thank you, Mama Squirrel. Mom Squirrel. All right, I feel so much better. I can go on now. Oy. So funny because there's been so much in the news about Scentable and all the drama with the gal there that was working with it and how they made him not be a part of it and he kind of kicked him out of his own charity. All right. I just never heard him say the name of the country. I'm going to continue on as soon as I figure out where the heck I left off. Her biological clock was ticking. Okay. Early the following morning, I guess after the date, Meghan called Gina. That's that Nell Thorpe Cowan, her agent, I believe. He's lovely. Adorable and such a gentleman, she gushed. Will you meet again? Asked Gina. I hope so. We left on good terms. I put a spell on him. By the end of the conversation, Gina shared Meghan's excitement. We were both in heaven like teenagers about the news. We're meeting again, Meghan told Gina over lunch. He's really lovely, she sighed. He's really lovely. That's such a British thing to say. She's adopting the language already. He's really lovely. I bet she said it with a bit of an accent, too. On the 3rd of July, Meghan posted on Instagram a picture of 2 love heart sweets with the message, kiss me and Love Hearts in London. That was on the actual little heart candy. Love Hearts in London. It's a lot to put on those tiny little heart candies. Her friends understood the circumstances and the climax of the 4-day relationship. 4 days, and she's posting on Instagram about it on July 3rd. It's not even like Valentine's Day or anything. On the morning of the 4th of July, dressed in Ralph Lauren, she returned to Wimbledon. She thanked Violet von Westenholz for the introduction after watching Serena Williams win her match against somebody else. She drove directly to Heathrow to fly back to Toronto for filming Suits. Gutted to be leaving London, she posted shortly before leaving. Oh, man. She doesn't disappoint, boy. 2 weeks later, Harry secretly flew to Toronto, just like Robin pretends to be a sister wife. They like just say they are something and then become it. They just try to migrate into an environment and pretend like they've been there all along. All right. 2 weeks later, Harry secretly flew to Toronto. He stayed for about 1 week in the house of a friend of Meghan's, probably Jessica Mulrooney, who Meghan has since kicked to the curb. Can you all hear me okay? I realize the microphone is not that close. I'll move it a little closer. Okay. I'm sorry. Let's see. So in a friend's house, probably Jessica Mulroney's, with Corey still sharing her home. She is something. The situation for Meghan was tricky, but manageable. Oh, it was manageable for her. Yeah. Yeah, she can spin plates on those sticks if she needs to. She'll make it happen. When there's a will, there's a way in Meghan's world. Since she had carefully researched Harry's life, Meghan knew exactly how to make him feel loved and appreciated. So long as she looked at him with intense affection and trust, she would not trigger his insecurity or paranoia. Oh, she's an actress. To reassure him that he was admired for himself, she would tell him what he wanted to hear, especially about the importance of his ambitions and his principles. Free of fear and suspicion, Harry succumbed to a person who offered much more than affection. I think that very early on, Meghan said later, when we realized we were going to commit to each other, we knew we had to invest the time and energy and whatever it took to make this happen. Yeah. Naturally, she could not keep the relationship a secret. Of course not. Although Harry had warned her about the need for silence to give them time to establish their relationship away from the media spotlight, her closest Toronto friends were told, and so was Thomas Markle. Well, of course, because she didn't want to keep it a secret. He's like, we got to keep this a secret as long as possible so we have ample time for it to be just you and me together in this and really get to know each other. And she's thinking, I don't want to really get to know you. I just want to be in the spotlight. I will let this leak as soon as I can. Okay. Daddy, she said early in the month, I met this new guy, and I really like him. The very next day, she revealed, Daddy, he's an Englishman. On the fourth phone call in July, she revealed, Daddy, he's a prince. At the end of the week, after he returned to London, Meghan was convinced that her spell was cast and the relationship with Harry would be sealed. The spell was cast, didn't I tell you? Yeah, I'm right on track here. All right. She told Corey that their affair was over Unaware of the circumstances, he was relieved. The final months had been unpleasant. Packing his belongings, he moved in mid-July into an apartment with Richard Lambert, a British-born friend renowned in Toronto as an owner of bars and nightclubs. Like she just is friends with everybody who owns a bar or a nightclub, isn't she? Meghan stayed in the house, removing the evidence of Corey's presence. She awaited Harry's first visit to her home. Wait. Oh yeah, Corey's the chef, right? She wasn't really having an affair with him. Wait, was he married? I've already forgotten. How scandalous is this story? No, I don't think he was married because the parents were excited to meet her, whereas the first parents weren't excited. Right? Wasn't her first husband Jewish? And so the parents weren't excited because she wasn't Jewish? Am I making this all up? And then this Corey is the restaurateur in Toronto, very famous chef. I shouldn't say restaurateur because I think it was a chef, but a very famous one. So I wonder why, anyway, maybe that's just a British term in terms of affair. Okay. Because it seemed like it was a relationship. They were living together. Yeah. Yes, HRH. They were just living together. Yeah. Okay. So it's not really an affair. Or yes, he was married. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Or the yes means yes, he was married. I ask too many questions. And then after the delay with YouTube, when people say, every time you answer one of my questions, say yes, and then yes, this did happen. Or yes, this was this person. Because Corey's parents liked her. Yeah, it wasn't an affair. It was a relationship. And they moved in together. Okay. Anyway, it just might be a term that is used more in Britain or something. Okay. So she quickly cleaned up the house and waited Harry to arrive. Coincidentally, during those weeks, she happened to be asked questions about Britain on a TV quiz show. Not surprisingly, the Californian could not answer what apples and pears means in Cockney rhyming slang, which is stairs. Okay. Nor could she identify the three national animals of Britain's kingdoms, the lion, the unicorn, and the dragon. Am I supposed to know that? She asked. No one understood the relevance of her question. Cosette, don't eat the plant. First of all, it's fake. It's plastic. Oh, this is the cat that likes plastic. Does anyone have a cat that licks plastic? I had to look it up online. Honest to goodness, any plastic. I just had a retreat and I got all this stuff and I had all these bags from Temu arriving and she is just licking them. I gotta move this out of the way. Okay. Like crazy every time another thing comes in and I'm like, I don't know what it came from China. Don't lick it. No. Apparently it's a thing with certain cats. She's the first cat that I have that's been doing this, that likes to lick plastic. Okay. 4 weeks after she first met Harry, Meghan set off on a whirlwind tour. First to New York in early August for Lindsay Roth's wedding, which coincided with her 35th birthday. From there, she flew to Italy with Jessica Mulroney for a brief holiday in Positano. Again, a place I don't know. I need to travel more. Then she headed to Rwanda as World Vision's ambassador. Finally, she arrived in London for the first time since meeting Harry in June. Over lunch, Meghan showed Gina photographs of Rwanda's famous silverback gorillas before getting down to business. Things are going really well, she revealed, and added, he's asked me to come to Botswana. Gina was incredulous. I understood straight away, she recalled, that Meghan would mesmerize that broken-hearted boy that we saw following his mother's coffin. I was almost as excited as she was about her conquest. Anyone taken to Botswana in those circumstances would fall in love. On reflection, Gina remembers foreseeing problems. Trying to tip it down so they could see you. Can't do it. Doesn't tip anymore. Okay. Have you any idea what you're doing? She asked. Harry, she asked, period. Harry, she explained, was clearly thinking about marriage. Do you realize you won't be able to make any more movies? Royal duties will be your life. Okay, this is very confusing, but have you any idea what you're doing? She asked. So I think this is what Gina asked, even though it's a new paragraph. And then Harry, she explained, was clearly thinking about marriage. Do you realize you won't be able to make any more movies? Gina said to Rachel. Royal duties will be your life. Gina, save it, Meghan snapped. Gina was taken aback by the steel in Meghan's voice. Holding up her hand, Meghan continued, Stop. Be quiet. I don't want to hear any negativity. This is a happy time for us. Stopped in her tracks, Gina looked at the hard fury in Meghan's eyes. At that stage, she failed to grasp the full significance of the moment. Meghan's plan was working. Harry was within her web. Years later, Meghan sought to portray herself as cautious about going to Botswana. Is it crazy to go away like this? She allegedly asked her friends. It wasn't something she had done before, wrote Omid Scobie. Omid Scobie, who writes fiction, it seems like, right? The portrayal of coy uncertainty was barely convincing. She knew that any association with Harry, even if it ended abruptly, would establish her as a super celebrity. Ba-ba-da-bum! Super celebrity! Botswana, said Harry, was his second home. He had been introduced to the country in 1997 by Geoffrey Kent, the successful travel entrepreneur and manager of Charles's polo team. In the aftermath of Diana's death, the bereaved boy fell in love with the smell of the African bush in Botswana's rich animal life. From Botswana, he had flown with Charles to Pretoria to meet Nelson Mandela. His escort, Mark Dreyer, a former Welsh Guard officer, and a query to Charles, again, I don't know what an equerry is, something royal, it became Harry's mentor. Thereafter, Harry spent most Augusts in southern Africa. Frequently, he visited Botswana and Malawi to work on programs to care for elephants and rhinos. On the 6th of August, 2016, if the little scraping sound of my hair clip on this desk is bothering you, let me know, because the cat here is just moving it all around from place to place. Okay. That was the middle of a sentence. Although, nope, that's a minute. On the 6th of August, 2016, the Sun reported his presence in Natal. He had been to the raucously drunken wedding of George, a cousin. 2 weeks later, Meghan flew to Botswana for a second bush holiday with Harry. Living secretly in a tented camp overlooking a river and lush hills, their 5 days were filled with watching the wild animals, swimming, and eating. And following in the footsteps of Chelsea Davy and Cressida Bonus, she was the 4th girlfriend Harry had taken to Botswana. Like them, Meghan was the type to whom Harry would confess his secrets. He could fall in love with her because she could save him from what he feared about himself. It was absolutely amazing to get to know her quickly as I did, Harry later said. Those days were crucial to me to make sure we really got to know each other. By the time they returned to London, they had agreed that in future, while keeping their relationship a secret, they should not be apart for more than 2 weeks. On their return to London, she is doing everything to distract me, isn't she? She is just, you are something else, you are. On their return to London, Meghan immediately called Gina. From Harry's home in Kensington Palace to arrange a meeting for lunch that day. Soon after she sat down, Meghan pulled out her phone. She showed me the most wonderful photographs of the two of them. They were so clearly already in love. Gina concluded the deal was sealed. Harry and Meghan knew they would be together. Any doubts were swept aside by Meghan. Quote, I'm in love. Euphoric. He's the right father for my children. Royal blood. He's perfect. In a burst of girl talk, the conversation revealed her concern to spend enough time with him. She needed, Meghan explained, to prevent Harry escaping. She was not going to let him get away. Well, you know what you're letting yourself in for, Gina said in a deliberate, supportive voice. This is serious. This is the end of your normal life and the end of your privacy. Everything. Meghan smiled. I knew then, recalled Gina, that they were certain to get married. Okay, I'm happy for you, Meghan, she said. Do me a favor. Use your platform to save the environment. Oh, gosh. Okay. I'll keep my thoughts to myself. Yes, I will, replied Meghan. Okay. Their intimacy suddenly evaporated. Meghan, Gina feared, was no longer a genuine friend. Focused on what she wanted, she wasn't going to listen to anything that cast a shadow. Naturally, Meghan did not reveal all her feelings to Gina. As she would say 1 year later about marrying into the royal family, I do not see it as giving anything up. I see it as a change. It is a new chapter. Well, you're stupid then. Even she didn't believe those words. Well, maybe she did, because she knew that it was going to be so temporary that it was going to be a change. That Meghan would eventually go back to her normal life. Okay. As became evident in later months, Harry's commitment and talk of duty and self-denial was unattractive to the actress. Yeah. She's like, work? No. The idea that there would be serious restrictions on her life as a member of the royal family had not occurred to her. We're going to change the world, Meghan said solemnly to Gina. With Harry by my side, we can change the world. She sounds like every 16 to 20-year-old out there in the world. All right. Let's watch you do it. Words, just words. Sworn to silence, Gina told no one, including her husband, about Meghan's revelation to her. The media was totally unaware of their relationship. At the end of September 2016, Meghan was booked by Gina to address 1,300 delegates at the One Young World Summit in Ottawa. Billed as among the brightest young leaders from around the world, Meghan was listed as a UN woman advocate for women's leadership. And wait, no, wait, there's more. Meghan was listed as a UN woman advocate for women's leadership and political participation, and as a global ambassador for World Vision. As usual, Meghan urged her agent to generate publicity around her speech. I also want to be photographed with Justin Trudeau and Kofi Annan. And she told Gina, it's very important. Very important. To satisfy her demands, Gina also arranged for Meghan to feature in a special edition of Vanity Fair as an exceptional young leader. Meghan was seated with the chosen leaders in a minibus outside the conference center, waiting to be driven to the photo shoot. Seeing Meghan through the open door, a young female reporter asked her a benign question. Talk to my agent, snapped Meghan. Gina, this is how he writes. He starts something, he goes to the side, says who's saying it, and then he finishes the sentence. It's so difficult to read out loud without pre-reading it all. Talk to my agent, snapped Meghan. Gina, just sort this out. Gina was taken aback and a little shocked. Until that moment, in her eyes, Meghan had always been warm and accommodating to everyone. Meghan had changed. She was only a feminist when it suited her, concluded Gina. Back at the hotel, Meghan had a new demand. Once her relationship with Harry was known and she spent more time in London, she explained she would need a special media relations team. Of course she does. I want you to handle it, Gina, said Meghan. Since she had no money, she continued, and the kudos would be immeasurable. She expected her agent to work without payment. Of course, I'm Meghan Markle. You should just be on. You should be paying me to work for me. Okay. Gina politely refused. She was not a PR agency, and she lacked the staff and expertise. However, she could promise Meghan that once the Harry connection was known, her commercial appeal, especially in America, would increase. Meghan was insulted by Gina's rejection of her proposal. That evening, Meghan was photographed with Justin Trudeau, Canada's Prime Minister. Unexpectedly, Kofi Annan had left Ottawa the same day, missing the dinner. The chance for the photograph was lost. Gina watched her client fume. It's nobody's fault. He just left. The following morning, Meghan announced that she would not make her speech. What? She was returning immediately to Toronto. Suits directors required urgent filming. But you agreed to make that speech, implored Gina. I'll leave it up to you. You're my agent. Sort it. In the midst of her rebuke, a young woman interrupted her. Don't these people have manners? Asked Meghan. She didn't even greet me. Embarrassed, Gina rushed back to her room and for the first time in her long career, burst into tears. Is this our first instance of Meghan making somebody cry? Because I do believe this is a theme that we're going to see a lot. I think this might be the first time. Her making her agent cry. In terms of like employees working for her, because she snaps at them and embarrasses them and yells at them and makes them cry and makes a lot of them quit. We'll see if Gina quits. Since Meghan and Harry had become an item, she realized her client had become a different woman. There was a big change after that, she said. The change was partly influenced by Harry's obsession with the importance of protection, bodyguards, and privileged status. Regularly, Harry flew first class on commercial flights to Toronto. Wearing a baseball hat, he slipped off the plane unnoticed to a car waiting on the tarmac. While he lived in Meghan's house, bodyguards sat around the clock in an SUV parked nearby. The same bodyguards escorted him to local shops and around the city. In alternate weeks, Meghan flew to London. On arrival at Heathrow, she received a special treatment organized by Harry. First to disembark, she was driven to a VIP facility for processing her passport and then sped to a chauffeured car to London. There she stayed in Nottingham Cottage, Harry's two-bedroom home within Kensington Palace, a secluded and guarded compound near Kensington High Street. Those privileges influenced her reaction to her encounter in the first-class airport lounge on a return trip. The airline official asked her to move to another seat to make way for a group of male Colombian dignitaries. Without protest, she picked up her bag. In the future, she pledged no one would ask her to move. Yeah, she's asking about someone else's manners. I know, honestly, right? I think we heard it in an earlier chapter, Patty says. The crying, is that the crying? Could be. I feel like I said that one other time. Like, is this our first instance of crying? I can tilt this up. Look at my fat belly anymore because we can't see Miss Cosette here. Okay, so we are in chapter 15. This is our last chapter for the day. It was a bit long though, so let's jump. Exposed is the name of it. In Meghan Markle's life, little happened by chance. Beyond the empathetic smiles was a woman who distrusted spontaneity and liked to control every aspect of her life. In late September of 2016, nothing was more important than her relationship with Harry. She decided that her past story needed adjustment. On the 9th of October 2016, a PR agency in Los Angeles changed her Wikipedia entry. The reference to the Deal or No Deal game show was removed, along with the description of her carrying case number 24. The technician also deleted the reference to being a fashion model. A section headed Humanitarian Work was inserted. That described her visits to Rwanda and Afghanistan and her New York speech for the United Nations Women and the TIG. You know, this is just amazing because I remember back then and I remember finding out that she did like all this humanitarian work. And I'm like, God, they're perfect for each other. I bought it. I bought it all. Hook, line, and sinker. 2 weeks later, Meghan sent Gina an email announcing the end of her acting and commercial career. Their contract was terminated. Oh, yep, she cut her loose. Gina was disappointed. Quote, I realized it meant losing her as a friend as well as a client, end quote. Meghan's timing had been carefully planned. Harry was back in Toronto. On Saturday, the 22nd of October, Meghan took him to a Halloween party at Soho House. Dressed in costumes, they went with his cousin Eugenie and her boyfriend. As Meghan later admitted, the four snuck out to have just one fun night on the town before it was out in the world that they were a couple. The previous night, Meghan had posted a photo of herself on Instagram with a pumpkin and a photo of her secret Halloween date. Most at the party were in no doubt that Meghan was outing Harry. For her own good reasons, she wanted the relationship to be publicized. I called it. In media hype, some would call it the greatest story since the abdication. Camilla Tominey of the Sunday Express revealed the affair on the 30th of October. Alerted from London, Harry left Meghan's Toronto home unseen early that morning and headed for the airport before journalists arrived. It has the ring of truth, confirmed the palace about the global sensation creating a frenzy outside Meghan's house. She emerged, smiling, to a crowd of photographers and drove to the studio. Soon afterwards, she posted more photos of herself on the TIG. Among them were shots of 2 visits to London, herself at the Soho farmhouse in Oxfordshire, and pictures showing that she and Harry were wearing identical bracelets. Separate posts featured a jigsaw and a cup of tea. Another showed 2 cuddling bananas with the caption, "Sleep tight, X." What's that mean? Sleep tight, X. Journalists received numerous tips about the clothes and accessories Meghan was wearing. 100,000 new followers signed up on her account. "Princess Meghan Markle?" asked one. "Which banana is Harry?" Meghan was clearly not concerned about her privacy at this particular moment. In Los Angeles that morning, Nanaki Pretty, Meghan's oldest friend and maid of honor at her Jamaican wedding, and a victim of Meghan's ghosting, smiled. Meghan's long fascination with the royal family had landed her the ultimate prize. She reread Meghan's post on the TIG. "Little girls dream of being princesses, and grown women seem to retain this fantasy. Just look at the pomp and circumstance surrounding the royal wedding and endless conversations about Princess Kate." The British media was ecstatic. "He's been happier than he's been in many years," reported the Times. The tabloids went into overdrive. In unison, America's media whooped that the royal family was lucky. Meghan, proclaimed in American newspaper, was the feminist princess of our dreams. Buckingham Palace's website agreed. Meghan was, quote, "proud to be a woman and a feminist," end quote. Inevitably, the media instantly launched a hunt to discover the truth about the little-known actress. The first reports were positive. School teachers and former pupils in Los Angeles universally sang her praises. In Toronto, Reitmans could not believe their luck. The news coincided with the launch of Meghan's collection. Meghan saying, "Reitmans, really?" boosted sales. Just one day later, the media's tone changed. One day? Journalists called at her father's shabby Hollywood apartment. Standing at the open door, a pregnant woman explained that he was traveling in Mexico. "There's no way of contacting him," she said. "I never know when he's going to be coming back." I don't remember that. They went to his apartment, and in the door was a pregnant woman. Who's the pregnant woman? Okay, maybe I should read on. Delighted that her father lived in a remote area north of Rosarito, where his discovery was unlikely, Meghan telephoned Thomas Markle. "Lay low," she ordered. By then, Doria was under siege by journalists. Meghan ordered Doria not to say a word. Allegedly, some journalists offered Doria money for an interview, tried to enter her home illegally, and harassed her as she walked on the pavement. Doria said nothing. Guards were later posted outside her home. By then, newspapers reported that Thomas Markle had filed twice for bankruptcy, and that several years earlier, Doria had also filed for bankruptcy with credit card debts of $52,750. Meghan's half-brother, Tom Jr., who had also been declared bankrupt. Then it got worse for Meghan. Without considering the consequences, she did not call Samantha Markle or Tom Jr. or any of the Raglins. The price for cutting out her extended family was immediate. Samantha Markle gave a series of ferocious media interviews, although she would later claim to have been misquoted. On Radar Online, an American website, Samantha criticized Meghan for her lack of emotional and financial support towards her father since she became a famous actor. Well, I mean, Samantha seems like a mess, but I got to agree with her on that one. It is true. How can you make that kind of money and your father, who paid for all that stuff, had to declare bankruptcy twice? Not right. She has no value for family. Watch out, Harry, Samantha told the Daily Mail. The royal family, she said, would be appalled by what Meghan's done to her own family. The truth would kill her relationship with Prince Harry. He wouldn't want to date her anymore because it puts her in a bad public light. In the Mirror newspaper, Samantha dubbed Meghan as a pushy social climber. Later, she added that Meghan was a social climber with a soft spot for gingers. In The Sun, Samantha proclaimed that her behavior is certainly not befitting of a royal family member. Meghan, she said, is a narcissist and selfish. Well, they go hand in hand. Meghan and Samantha had not seen each other since Samantha's graduation in 2008. A photo showed them smiling together 8 years earlier. At first, Tom Jr. contradicted Samantha. Meghan didn't turn her back on everybody in the family, he said. She worked very hard to get where she's at. But then his attitude altered as he joined the attack. Meghan telephoned her father. She asked that he order his 2 children to stop speaking. I can't stop them, said Thomas Markle. They're my children too. Inevitably, the family at war prompted a further outburst on social media. The digital headlines were lurid. Among the least offensive was the description of Meghan as a gold digger. Another critic carped that the latest Reitman's promotion portraits had been photoshopped to give her a smaller waist, bigger breasts, and had removed a mole on her lip. Among the more embarrassing clips on Pornhub was a scene from Suits of her wearing a bra and kissing another actor, a suspicious video of her topless on a yacht, and a fabricated topless photo. While the social media trolls raged, traditional journalists hit a block. The media had expected Harry to marry a Tatler girl with a titled father. I don't know what Tatler girl means, but moving on. The disbelief that a 35-year-old Californian actress could become a dutiful consort sparked lurid reporting. Page after page described the sex scenes in Suits, speculated about the divorce, and questioned her past. Both Trevor Engelson and Corey Vitiello remained stonily silent. Approaches to Meghan's other former boyfriends produced little new. Faced with the lack of cooperation, the media ranked over Meghan's gushing praise in 2013 for ice hockey star Michael Del Zotto. Had she been unfaithful to Trevor Engelson? They asked. When Meghan met Harry, said one anonymous man, I messaged Trevor and said, he got your leftovers. Hollywood also stayed silent. Few had heard of Meghan, and those who had rejected her after auditions refused to speak. All right. So, and those who had rejected her after her auditions refused to speak. All agree that this was not the right time to make a new enemy. The exception were some of the cast of Suits. Loudly, they sang her praises. In that fervored atmosphere, the Mail Online ran an article headlined, "Harry's Girl is Almost Straight Outta Compton. Gang-scarred home of the mother revealed." So will he be dropping by for tea? That is a very, very long, it's 3 sentences long. That was the title with all these. Okay, anyway. The article wove together various racial stereotypes, lamenting Doria's gang-scarred Los Angeles neighborhood, Crenshaw, and its tatty one-story homes, and listing crime statistics for the area. I will say, it is pretty run down around that area, but those homes probably still sell for $1 million, or at least $500,000. Oh, gosh. California real estate. All right. So Doria lived in this area because, she keeps saying it was so offensive that they mentioned that she was almost straight out of Compton because she never lived in Compton. But I think Doria did. So I think that's what they mean, almost straight out of Compton. So it wasn't that far of us. They didn't completely make it up just because Doria happened to be Black. Or maybe they did. Who knows? I never took it that way. But I didn't realize Doria lived around this area. I just assumed none of them were from there. So originally I just thought that's just a terrible thing to say about somebody. Then again, at that time, everybody had shirts straight out, and then there was something underneath it. Remember, my daughter was an RA on campus, and their dorm, this was the second year she was there, and she was an RA. There was an old motel that had been renovated and turned over and made into dorms. So it was like 2 stories, outside entering rooms. And they were kind of like a suite, 2 rooms would share a bathroom. But it was the only building on campus that was like outside entering rooms. All the rest you went inside, like normal dorms are, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I live in an area where it snows, so obviously nobody has outside entering rooms to get into their dorms. But at any rate, she said that the RA, everyone designed their own t-shirts, and their RAs designed t-shirts that said straight out of, I want to say it was called Moreland, maybe. So they had like straight out of Moreland as a joke because they were technically the slums of the campus, but the university shut it down. She's like, I thought they designed something that was kind of cute. Anyway, so it was like a joke line that was said a lot at that time. All right, should it have been put in the newspaper? Probably not. And did they really mean it to be a racial? I mean, maybe. If they did, then it's horrible. I'm just saying. Sometimes Meghan makes a mountain out of a molehill. All right. After 1 week, even the Sun felt sympathy for Meghan. Under the headline, "Let's give Harry's girl a chance," the paper urged that the poor girl doesn't stand a chance. She's getting slaughtered from all angles before the relationship gets off the ground. Harry believed that sorry, I don't know why this bothers me so much, and I might be completely wrong. I really might, if I was in the situation. From the outside looking in, I feel like if somebody were to be saying all the stuff about me that wasn't true, I wouldn't be like crumbling like a wilted flower. I'd be like, first of all, they're full. Second of all, I probably wouldn't be reading half the stuff. I don't know. I mean, when people write stuff about me and things they don't like about me, how much I touch my hair. Sorry, I have issues, okay? I usually laugh. I mean, I guess every now and then I think, gosh, that was mean. And it bugs me for a second or two. But like, it's like she looks for something, anything. And then when she grabs a hold of it, runs to the media and to talk shows and newspapers and interviewers to talk about how she's such a victim because of this line. Anyway, I mean, people are jerks. People are going to say rotten things. And if she can't handle it, why is she even an actress? You can't want to be popular and be thin-skinned. Okay. Harry believed that he had good reason to fear the media. Earlier that year, he had complained that every girl he met had been bombarded by journalists. As he fretted about how to protect Meghan before the massive invasion that is inevitably going to happen to her privacy, the Daily Mail also showed some sympathy. Harry's tragedy, wrote Jan Moore, was that no sane girl would marry him. Well, that came to pass. No sane girl did marry him. Allegedly. After Samantha's attacks, I do feel bad for her family speaking out against her. It's just not right. They can keep their mouth shut. Like, they cannot like her. They cannot, clearly, they can just speak facts about how much she contacted them or financially supported them and how much daddy supported her, and just speak facts without having to go personal. So I do feel bad for her in that regard, that she drew the short stick when it came to step siblings. Meghan, she suspected, would surely follow Chelsea Davy and Cressida Bonus and flee for the hills to enjoy happy obscurity and avoid the life sentence in royal oh no, she's running right to it. It's just the opposite. Chelsea Davy and Cressida Bonus. Bonus? Is that how it's pronounced? Bonas? Anyway, Chelsea and Cressida were mature enough and confident in themselves enough to know this is not a life that's I want to lead. I don't want everyone to know about me and want to talk to me and always want to be around me and all that stuff. But Meghan did. So she didn't want happy obscurity. Just the opposite. Prophetically, Moore warned that if the couple did eventually marry, their relationship would, with a hop and a skip, lead to despair and being stripped of all royal titles and dignity. The good news, Moore noted, was that at the Halloween party, Harry showed his maturity by leaving his Nazi uniform at home. He grew up a little. He got reamed in the media for it. So, unknown to the media and public, Meghan was staying in Nottingham Cottage. Every day she read newspapers and watched the TV reports. See, she had to see herself. It's the problem. By the end of the week, she became extremely upset. Oh, really? She found something to complain about. Disingenuously, Harry later told the BBC, "We were hit so hard at the beginning with a lot of mistruths that I made the choice not to read anything positive or negative." Lies. Meghan was more candid. After scrutinizing the websites, she felt sick about the narrative castigating her as a social climber from the ghetto, whose goal was to marry up. That doesn't sound like her at all. That was not making sense, according to Meghan. She had never put any focus on that, it said. Insisting that she needed protection from tabloids intent on destroying her reputation, Meghan ordered her North American publicist to describe her as a bewildered victim of fake news. No journalist, Harry knew, would believe that. Fearing that he could lose the girl of his dreams and his future wife, he was distraught. Months earlier, at the outset of their relationship, Harry had assumed Meghan's acting career had prepared her for the inevitable media interest. Well, sure, I'm sure she told him exactly those words. I've got this background in acting. I can handle anything. Unlike Chelsea Davy, Meghan said she could cope. For more than 10 years, she had sought publicity from the tabloids. To be mentioned inside any newspaper, even at the bottom of the page, was her dream. Finally, she was in play and on front pages. To Meghan's misfortune, she failed to understand that Hollywood publicity is about favors, mutual agreements, payments, and dishonest journalism. Buckingham Palace lacked those levers over Britain's newspapers. Fleet Street's delight was to publish raw reality without Hollywood's cosmetic cover-ups. Moreover, the palace had no influence over Britain, especially against the frequently vicious and inaccurate social media. Meghan preferred to suggest she did not understand those limitations. Instead, she identified the newspaper's racial undertones. The media's curiosity in questioning the suitability of her background to be royal was damned as racist. Was damned as racist. I'm going to use those words as a sentence. Okay, moving on. At the outset, only one tabloid had described Meghan as not in the society blonde style of girls that Harry normally dated. Days later, Rachel Johnson in the Mail on Sunday was more succinct. Miss Markle's mother is a dreadlocked African-American lady from the wrong side of the tracks who lives in Los Angeles, and even the sour spinster has to admit that the 35-year-old actress is extremely easy on the eye, she added. Genetically, she is blessed. If there is an issue from her alleged union with Prince Harry, the Windsors will thicken their watery, thin blue blood and Spencer pale skin and ginger hair with some rich and exotic DNA. 2 out of thousands of comments had racist overtones. Two out of thousands of comments had racist overtones. Racist undertones were read in many of the other comments. Okay. So a whole bunch of undertones, 2 overtones. Meghan's complaints to Harry about the media were no different than those of his previous girlfriends, except that her complaints were about widespread racism. Meghan, Omid Scobie, who frequently described himself as an Anglo-Iranian, would later write, "Didn't want to be defined by race." End quote. He immediately contradicted himself by quoting Meghan's article in Elle, quote, "To say who I am, to share where I'm from, to voice my pride in being a strong, confident, mixed-raced woman," end quote. Until the recent rise of Black Lives Matter, Meghan had been relatively silent about race, but her stance had altered after associating with international charities. Implicit in championing her mixed race, her critics would say that Meghan was joining those criticizing white people. One way, then we have another way. Everybody's offended. Good Lord. Called the first Black princess, she attracted empathic support from Black American women. On the internet, they rejoiced, quote, "Secure the palace, sis," end quote. Others were more cautious. Mixed race girls, they believed, enjoyed advantages denied to Black women by white men. Meghan Markle is the type of Black, wrote Elaine Musiwa in American Vogue, that the majority of the right-leaning white America wishes we all could be, if there were to be Blackness at all, end quote. These journalists, really, they like to take political stands in these articles, don't they? Musiwa particularly identified mixed race girls' familiarity with whiteness. It showed in the way they held themselves. Having triggered those conflicting emotions, the turmoil alternatively delighted, irritated, and confused Meghan. She's delighted, irritated, and confused. That's great. Okay. The Harry-Meghan relationship shifted into unknown territory. Previous liaisons always focused on the girl's background, but never her race. Equally unusual, no previous girlfriend had such a colorful past as Meghan. But most pertinent was Meghan's political activism. Some journalists instantly spotted that introducing an uncompromising American into the royal family guaranteed problems. I mean, I could see that. An uncompromising American, not just an American, but an uncompromising American could be a problem. I could see that too. Added to that was Meghan's conviction that she and only she should control her image and the media's narrative about herself. Within 2 weeks, the Harry-Meghan relationship was transformed into an unprecedented battle between the couple and the media. Those close to Harry believed he had long harbored a fantasy to be told what to do by women. Oh, In his search for maternal sympathy, Meghan promised to be an understanding mother figure as well as an adoring lover. For the first time in Harry's life, he was prepared to obey a woman. To secure Meghan's loyalty, he would change himself to match her expectations. I need to take a sip. I wonder if this is in the 1 through 50 of the 50 Shades of Grey. He liked to be controlled. Don't know. Just asking. Not saying. Or maybe he just was starting to feel desperate and none of the girlfriends were working out. So this was his best shot of somebody really outside the realm of it all. He thought he was playing her and she knew she was playing him. Could be. Maureen, they have to be non-political. I know. Although the royal family is really getting into environmentalism lately, which kind of surprised me because that seems to be in the realm of politics. Seems to be a divided political issue, but anyway. Where did I leave off? Hi, sweetheart. Yes, you're sitting on the desk like the queen bee that you are. I should get a little crown for you. We're all queens here today. Okay. For her part, Meghan knew by then that she was pushing a man eager for revenge against the media and his family. His personal relationships had been damaged by the news of the world. Maureen, is that like a newspaper? Phone hacking, not least when their journalists suddenly appeared during his supposedly secret meetings with Chelsea Davy. I'm guessing it's a newspaper, News of the World. Even more, maybe it's like, no, USA Today is really still, I mean, it kind of talks about world stuff, but it really is USA Today. News of the World was a TV show, I believe. Okay. He is still controlled. Have you seen them together? Oh, Maureen, yes. She takes his hand and she guides and leads him. And if he lets go of her hand, she reaches back and grabs it again. She does not let him go. She's like, it's like a rudder in a boat. She steers him around, and if he's not holding her hand, she's got her hand on his back, guiding him. That's when she's not walking in front of him, which she's not supposed to do. But anyway, we'll move on. Okay. Even more pertinently, he blamed Diana's death on the media, feeling deeply disappointed that he had been unable to protect his mother. He eagerly declared war against his enemy, the newspapers, to protect Meghan. So if all of a sudden I go deeply disappointed, or if I say something like that, it's just I don't want to say quote, end quote, quote, end quote, because there's so many of them in this book. So I'm trying to just like make it sound different, meaning this is a quote. Nothing could be done without the assistance of his key aide, Jason Knopf, a New Zealand-born 34-year-old recruited by the palace from the Royal Bank of Scotland. Following palace protocol, Knopf had mastered the standard procedure to stonewall media inquiries about Meghan. There would be no interviews, no briefing about her private life, and no comment about any controversy. Only after considerable discussion did the palace agree to a concession. This is going to be her home now, Knopf revealed, contrary to Meghan's later complaint that Knopf and his staff were amateurs learning on the job and flip-flopping. That's what she said about this guy? Okay, great. He was following the traditional dictum. Sounds like rectum. It's like rectum and dick put together. Dictum. I'm sorry. Never saw the word before. Now I've lost my space. I'm turning into a 13-year-old boy myself here. I just never saw this. Another word I don't know. Okay, the traditional dictum that royals, quote, don't complain, don't explain. Beyond that, Knopf's task was to advise and protect Harry from pitfalls and himself. The publicist fell at the first hurdle. Anxious to please, Knopf lacked both the authority and the experience to reason with Harry that the British media has never uncritically venerated the royals. Knopf's natural course would have been to remind Harry that Charles had suffered considerably more humiliation than Meghan from Diana, the Tampax tape, spitting image on television, which is a satire, like a puppet satire of the royal family, and a series of books, especially that by Paul Burrell, Diana's valet. Camilla had also been mercilessly ridiculed. In reply to Harry's anger that he would not tolerate suffering like his mother, Knopf failed to reply that his mother's strength and appeal was her ability to mock herself. To persuade Harry to dampen his anger and swerve from confrontation with the media required the sophistication of age and wisdom. Unable to summon the support of Charles or the Queen, Knopf succumbed to Harry's fury. In order to pacify Meghan's anger, Knopf agreed to issue a statement on Harry's behalf, damning the media for their description of Meghan. Harry dictated the sentiments for Knopf to fashion into a statement. Committing Knopf to a conundrum, Meghan demanded that a statement should reflect the parallel between her political fate and Diana's. Oh, she loves to compare herself to Diana. She's a victim like Diana. She's living the life like Diana. She thinks she is like Diana reincarnated. Allegedly. Knopf suggested that over-dramatizing Meghan's distress would backfire, but Harry was adamant. If Meghan's wishes to be equated with Diana was not satisfied, insisted Harry, he would probably lose her. Knopf acquiesced. To reinforce his attack, Harry asked William for support. His brother hesitated. Attacking the media was perilous. Harry, he also feared, was committing himself too quickly to Meghan. She was, after all, still just another girlfriend. To William's regret, Harry was obeying Meghan's orders. That was unwise. Harry was adamant. Despite his unease, William capitulated. The Duke of Cambridge, read the draft statement, absolutely understands the situation concerning privacy and supports the need for Prince Harry to support those closest to him. In the final statement issued by Harry on the 7th of November, 5 months after meeting Meghan, the media was denounced for orchestrating a, quote, wave of abuse and harassment, end quote, for their, quote, outright sexism and race. Where was the sexism now? Oh, gosh. For their, quote, outright sexism and racism, end quote, towards Meghan and the, quote, bombardment of nearly every friend, co-worker, and loved one in her life, end quote. Harry complained about the, quote, smear on the front page of a national newspaper, the racial undertones of comment pieces, and the outright sexism and racism on social media trolls and web article comments, end quote. The statement continued, quote, to the, could he just put the whole statement in here so we could just read it? I apologize. The statement continued, quote, to those who reply that this was the price she has to pay and this is all part of the game, he strongly disagrees. This is not a game. It is her life and his. It should stop before any further damage is done. End quote. The media and much of the British public were bemused, not surprisingly. Neither Harry nor Meghan were young innocents. Since 2011, Meghan had exposed herself to the media. Journalists mockingly pointed out that those who lived by Instagram risked dying by Instagram. Similarly, Harry had flaunted his international partying. Despite public warmth toward him, he was undoubtedly privileged, pocketing millions of pounds of public money every year and enjoying spectacular homes and comforts. He could not expect the benefits of royalty and simultaneously the privacy of normal people. Harry also experienced an unusual blowback. Newspapers commented for the first time that the couple had played the race card. Reporting of Meghan and her past was being interpreted by them as racism. Okay. 2 days later, on the 10th of November, Richard Kay, the Daily Mail's senior royal writer, was strolling outside his newspaper's office in Kensington High Street. To his surprise, he spotted Meghan. Until then, no one realized that she was in London. Following her back from Kensington's most expensive food shop, carrying a bulging bag adorned with the slogan, "Alleviate Poverty," that's so ironic, to Kensington Palace, Kay concluded that if Harry and Meghan were living together, their relationship was more serious than anyone had previously realized. Jeez. Walking back from the most expensive food shop in London, carrying a bulging bag with a slogan on it that said "Alleviate Poverty," on her way to Kensington Palace. Opulence of spending money. Oh my goodness. Whoa. All right. Continuing on. I apologize. That was a good line. Tellingly, Meghan confirmed Kay's suspicions. Of course she did. Yes, we're together. Despite her new anger about social media, she posted a photo of herself on Instagram wearing a necklace with M and H and her dog wearing a Union Jack jumper. "My cup runneth over," Meghan told a Vancouver newspaper, "and I'm the luckiest girl in the world." She described herself as an aspirational girl next door, a brash American, and mentioned that her mother had always cautioned her to dress less sexily because she should never give the milk away for free. Palace officials were as confused as journalists were incredulous. Meghan was simultaneously castigating and feeding the media. Fearing the worst from bitter experience, the palace stepped in to control Meghan's life. Aaron Korsh was told to submit all future suit scripts to Nick Collins, Meghan's agent. Oh, Nick Collins became her new agent, I guess. Bye-bye, Gina. Scripts were therefore forwarded to Kensington Palace for approval. Orders for changes of words were sent back from London to Los Angeles. The most important demand concerned Meghan's last scene at her, quote, wedding to Mike. No photographs, the palace ordered, were to be shot of Meghan wearing a wedding dress. Between filming, she was always to wear a jacket over her dress. The atmosphere in the studio changed. Some actors and staff discovered that Meghan's attitude occasionally stiffened. Sometimes she arrived late, and her empathy occasionally morphed into near arrogance. Meghan had markedly shifted from the early days when she held a prayer meeting with the Suits cast before filming started. Tongue-in-cheek, the Suits script writers took a license with Zayn's final words before she says, quote, "I do." Thinking of Harry, Meghan delivered the lines to her onstage husband, Mike. "You are the strongest man I have ever met, and you make me stronger. You're the husband I've always wanted, and I can't wait to start our adventure together." End quote. Harry appeared to have changed too. Previously in private, he appeared tense and irritable. Yet, in a series of interviews with Angela Levin, the journalist witnessed a Harry more relaxed about his role in life. During visits to schools for deprived children, hospitals for wounded servicemen, and emergency centers, he was unusually accessible. Joking and compassionate, he was winning universal applause. During those weeks, Harry met Charles and Camilla at Clarence's house. In Harry's version, the conversation altered between serious and joking and touched on 3 topics. First, Harry was told that Meghan should continue with her acting career. Second, Scotland Yard could not automatically be expected to pay for his girlfriend's 24-hour protection. And third, according to Harry, someone speculated about what his future child would, quote, look like. In one version, Camilla remarked, "Wouldn't it be funny if your child had a ginger afro hair?" Harry laughed. Subsequently, Meghan's reaction to that conversation turned Harry's amusement into fury. 4 years later, Harry described the aftermath of those conversations as really hard and awkward. But none of his previous girlfriends had given up work or been protected by the police. Harry also knew that Charles's limited income from the Duchy of Cornwall meant the annual allowance to himself would never exceed $1.5 million, a substantial amount by most standards, but not nearly enough for Harry and Meghan. "You will never make more than $1.5 million a year? How can we do this? Oh, right, and we pay no rent in our castle, do we? Oh, we don't pay for food either? Okay." They probably had clothing allowance as well for appearances. Okay. Finally, in his view, any family speculation about a child's appearance was unfortunately seen by his elders as lighthearted. A conversation with Meghan would change that assumption. More important and unspoken, Harry knew that his role as a senior royal would diminish within a decade. His salvation would be Meghan. Under no circumstances could he lose her. Hi, Lindsay B. Welcome. Okay. On Meghan's next arrival in London, Harry was standing on the tarmac in Heathrow with a police escort. At his insistence that racists posed a danger, 2 SO-14 officers were assigned to protect the visitor. After his conversation with Charles, Harry's demand for a dedicated female bodyguard for Meghan had been approved and was being processed. Meghan sped out of the airport towards Kensington. This was indeed the super celebrity lifestyle for which she had always yearned. Gina, her old agent, was among the first to notice a change. In a routine, friendly message, she asked Meghan permission to use a photograph from the Ottawa Youth Summit. Instead of her usual personal approval, Meghan's lawyers rejected the request. Across London, Millie McIntosh, the TV star, found herself cut off from her friend. Oh. Lizzie Cundy also discovered the new reality, quote, "Oh my God," she had texted to Meghan. "I heard about Mary." There's Harry, and then the next word is Meghan. My brain puts them together and calls it Mary. They should just be Mary. Harry and Meghan, Mary. I heard, okay. Lizzie Cundy also discovered the new reality. "Oh my God," she had texted to Meghan. "I heard about Harry." Meghan had replied, "Yes, we'll try to hook up." Thereafter, there was no reply to Cundy's texts. "I was literally ghosted by her," confessed Cundy. She ditched everyone. To his surprise, Piers Morgan was also ignored. Meghan Markle, he later said, is self-obsessed professional actress who has landed the role of her life and is determined to milk it for all she's worth. She spent most of the past 20 years cozying up to people until they serve no more use to her, then airbrushing them out of her life without so much as a "goodbye, loser." I know, because I was one of them. At the time, none of those people realized they were not isolated cases, but part of the pattern. Meghan, some would say, was picky, dismissing those who didn't share her vision. Even Thomas Markle was reprimanded. "How do you like the new series?" she asked about Suits during a telephone conversation. "I would like it if I could see you," Thomas replied. "It's so badly lit." Meghan exploded. Quote, "She got mad at me and ended the call," Thomas remembered. Well, he is an Emmy Award-winning Hollywood lighting director. Oh, he's a director of photography on major things. So, like, okay. Anyway, still, he could have said something nice first. So there you go. Okay. Yeah, right? Soon after Harry and Meghan's relationship was exposed, Harry invited Meghan to join his weekend shoot at the Why all of a sudden am I having a hard time pronouncing this? Sandringham. Something like that. With the Queen's permission, he had invited 16 friends to arrive for dinner on Friday night, shoot on Saturday, and leave after lunch on Sunday. Most of the guests were old friends from Eton, with their wives or girlfriends. All of them were employed by international banks, auction houses, or were estate owners or racehorse trainers. All were bonded by common assumptions, principles, and loyalties. Like other shooting weekends, Harry was looking forward to endless banter, jokes, and a lot of drinking. He had not anticipated Meghan's reaction. Their jokes involving sexism, feminism, and transgender people ricocheted around the living room and dining rooms. Without hesitation, Meghan challenged every guest whose conversation contravened her values. According to, or contradicted. Okay. According to Harry's friends, again and again, she reprimanded them about the slightest inappropriate nuance. Nobody was exempt. Harry's world would not be her world. Beyond Harry's hearing, the friends questioned Meghan's wokery. Meghan was a dampener of the party, they concluded. She lacked any sense of humor. Driving home after Sunday lunch, the text pinged between the cars. OMG, what about HER? One said. Oh my gosh, what about her? Quote, Harry must be effing nuts, end quote. And another said, quote, she's a total nightmare, end quote. Can you imagine those are the three texts that are said about you? I mean, you think that you would do a gut check and a self-evaluation. Of course, you'd be mad at the people who said them, and you'd be like, they're terrible. But how could you not be like, why do all of them think this of me? How am I projecting myself? Okay. Besotted. Okay. Harry was unaware of his friend's reaction. In late 2016, Harry also assumed that Meghan and Kate would be firm friends. He appeared not to have realized that Meghan had nothing in common with Kate Middleton, apart from both coming from aspiring, hardworking families. Kate was born in 1982 into a contented middle-class family. Her father, Michael, was a former British airline flight dispatcher who met her mother, Carol, then employed as a secretary for British European Airways at Heathrow. Brought up in a council flat, Carol's mother, the child of former miners in country Durham, had bought a small house and encouraged Carol's ambitions. By the age of 32, Carol had married, given birth to 3 children, set up a home-based business in the family's Berkshire home. Party Pieces offered everything from children's parties. Regularly, the Middleton children took packages to local post offices. Admired as a tough businesswoman, Carol was credited as particularly shrewd after Kate met William at 2 teenage parties. After she discovered that William had registered to study history of art at St. Andrews University, Carol discussed and agreed that her daughter would switch from Edinburgh to St. Andrews, register for the same course, and take a gap year so that both would be contemporaries. Thereafter, Kate had a happy but occasionally fraught 8-year relationship as William's girlfriend. During those years, marked by breaks, pauses, and indecision in his relationship with Kate, William spent weekends and Mediterranean holidays with the Middletons. Would insist that the parents were innocents and at the mercy of the Grand Norfolk family's angry Okay, I'm sorry. This sentence goes on and on and on and on. I don't even know what he's saying. Let me start over. During those years, marked by breaks, pauses, and indecision in his relationship with Kate, William spent weekends and Mediterranean holidays with the Middletons, a solid, unpretentious, and discreet family. Friends of the Middletons would insist that the parents were innocents, at the mercy of the Grand Norfolk families, angry that their eligible daughters, I think there's a typo in here, had been overlooked by William. They were upset that William wasn't asking her to marry him. Okay, moving on. But despite the Queen's invitations to Kate to visit Sandringham, Sandringham. I can't remember how to pronounce it. And by Charles to Clarence House, William refused to be pressured into marriage. While the media mocked weighty Katie and mimicked her mother with doors to manual, we don't know what that means, because she had worked for an airline, William remained mindful of his own parents' misery. All right. There's a little bit more. Hold on. Okay. In November 2010, age 28, William finally proposed. The wedding, 6 months later, was a spectacular success with a substantial global TV audience. The raucous celebrations in Buckingham Palace ended on a foreboding note. At 2 a.m., Harry, the worse for the wear, went to the microphone to announce the party was over on the orders of his father. The newlyweds departed in a Fiat Uno. Meghan was staying in Nottingham College at a particularly sensitive time for the Cambridges. To minimize his strained relationship with Charles and to build a normal family protected from palace pressure, William had, in 2011, moved with his family to Anmer Hall, adjacent to the Sandringham estate in Norfolk. 5 years later, the Cambridges returned to London. William's 2 children were about to start school, and the Duke of Edinburgh's imminent retirement required the Cambridges to undertake more royal duties. Their home, 1A Kensington Palace, spread over 22 rooms with 2 kitchens, was directly opposite Harry's 2-bedroom cottage. In those early weeks, Meghan enjoyed the pomp and illusion of aristocratic power. She assumed the Windsors could not ignore her professional success. Compared to the Californian actress who had successfully overcome the traumas of her parents' divorce and survived the struggle to establish her career, Kate appeared to have smoothly glided through the apex of British society. A few hiccups could not compare to the humiliation of the insecure actress suddenly aware that the flop film Antisocial was about to be re-released in London. A recut trailer featured her emerging from a shower to kiss a boyfriend. The messiness of Meghan's past, divorced parents, the Hollywood Zoo, her own failed marriage, impetuous years in Toronto, and countless relationships contrasted with the appearance of Kate's unsullied, cool confidence. As a future queen, she seems somewhat aloof and suspicious. In reality, Kate was shy and unpretentious. Some would say that her resistance reflected a woman without the same interests as Meghan. A clash between the 2 women was likely. During the first weeks, any tension passed unnoticed. At Harry's request to cement Meghan into the family, palace officials swiftly encouraged the impression that Kate's close relationship with Harry would automatically extend the trio to become the Fab Four. Oh, I remember when they were talking about that, Fab Four. Yes. To ease the transformation, Harry was portrayed by Miguel Head, his publicist, as a changed man, enjoying a close relationship with Charles, who also gets on very well with Prince William. Harry, a man with genuine charm and a hypnotically seductive power towards girls, was portrayed as relaxed about not being a future king. No longer the naughty boy, he was promoted as the no longer the naughty boy, he was promoted as the charity superstar, taking his royal duties seriously. To Harry's good fortune, everyone assumed he was respectful and loyal. At ceremonies, he rarely seemed blasé or weary. Rather, there was a natural charm and sincere curiosity about everyone he met. Working with William, he had led a concert for Diana at Wembley that included star performers such as Elton John and Tom Jones. He had established the Invictus Games and Centiball, the charity in Lesotho that helped sick children and HIV sufferers. Laterally, with William and Kate, he had created a mental health charity, Heads Together. If there were any differences between Harry and William, they would, with Kate's help, be overcome by cooperation. Caught up in the enthusiasm for Meghan, Hugo Vickers, an experienced royal biographer, told the Daily Telegraph, "Jolly well let him marry her." Insiders were less sure. Harry, they noticed, was influenced by Meghan's California lifestyle. Although she was no longer a passionate reader, William Faulkner's The Sound and the Fury, she said, was the most influential book she had read. She had given him 8 Steps to Happiness and The Motivation Manifesto, 2 American books about inspiration and life's choices. He appeared to have absorbed their message. Gradually, his language had become less English, less military. Some of the outings were unusual. Harry had arranged to visit the Natural History Museum after it was closed. Meghan, he explained, wanted to commune with the dinosaurs in private. How much you want to bet that she wanted to reenact a scene of the 2 people that were getting it on inside the museum in, what was it? I don't know, it wasn't a Nicolas Cage. It was a Night at the Museum. Remember that? Anyway. Any doubts about their influence was dispelled soon after. Harry openly disparaged Donald Trump as a serious threat to human rights. One lingering puzzle was how Harry would reconcile his newfound California liberalism with his love of shooting pheasants and partridges. The answer was that Harry would do anything to impress his girlfriend. On the 24th of November 2016, while Harry was representing the Queen in St. Lucia, Meghan was in Los Angeles for Thanksgiving. To celebrate the holiday, she invited her father and mother for dinner. Instead of meeting at Doria's home, Harry had arranged with Arthur Landon, an old school friend, and the son of a former British Army officer, enriched by his relationship with the Sultan of Oman, for Meghan to use the Landons' Hollywood home. Of course. Nothing says good old Thanksgiving get-together family time like going to some obscure house that nobody's been in before. Half the fun is just the hominess of being in the home. Oh, gosh. Okay. Set in a huge plot of land, the stunning mansion was empty. Gosh. Sounds terrible. Sounds sad. Thomas arrived with 2 pecan pies while Meghan and Doria cooked the turkey. Neither Thomas nor Doria had ever entered a house as luxurious. While both parents were impressed by their daughter's new status, this wasn't her house. She borrows from everybody. She borrowed for her show. That wasn't her house. She borrowed when she moved to California. That was Tyler Perry's house. It's never her house. Oprah didn't do the interview at her house. She did it at Oprah's house. All right. I'm stopping. She has a knack for going to other people's houses and finding it comfortable. See, I wouldn't be comfortable. Okay. All right. It's not about me. All right. While both parents were impressed by their daughter's new status, there was nothing particularly unusual about the reunion. Ever since their divorce, Thomas and Doria had met regularly. Occasionally, on his return trips to Los Angeles, Thomas and Doria got back together overnight in Doria's house. Oh, that's in quotes. Okay. All right. Occasionally, on his return trips to Los Angeles, Thomas and Doria got back together overnight in Doria's house, where she cooked a meal and washed his clothes. Okay. Over dinner, their 6-hour conversation was only about old times. Meghan disclosed nothing about her new life or plans, and neither parent asked about her future. The dinner was briefly interrupted by a telephone call from Harry. In a cursory manner, the prince wished Thomas a happy Thanksgiving. He said nothing about meeting him. At the end of the meal, Thomas refused Meghan's invitation to stay the night, and he drove back to Mexico. In hindsight, he believed that his daughter had, quote, not yet reached the point of entitlement, end quote. Nor did she suggest that she imagined living in Britain or marrying Harry. At the end of his 2-week official tour of the Caribbean, Harry broke the published schedule and rather than flying back to London from Barbados, headed to Toronto. Harry's breach of protocol was ignored, although Meghan's exhortation on the TIG to her followers to reduce fuel emissions to protect good old Mama Earth looked odd for a couple who had crossed the Atlantic 4 times in 5 weeks and were booked to spend the new year in the Norwegian Arctic Circle. During Meghan's pre-Christmas visit to London, she was not shy of publicity. Newspapers favorably reported that she and Harry spent 15 minutes buying a Christmas tree in Battersea. They were also noticed in a theater watching the award-winning The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time. Never heard of it. One newspaper published photographs of Meghan as a child. They were bought from Tracy Dooley, her former sister-in-law by marriage to Tom Jr. Meghan, said Dooley, was lovely and always in good spirits. Tom Jr. agreed. She'll always be our princess. She's a very giving person. The only outspoken doubter was the Daily Mail's Jan Moir. Do you really expect Meghan, she asked Harry rhetorically, to give up her career and move to the United Kingdom? Harry, she speculated, might follow the Duke of Windsor into exile. Okay, who's the Duke of Windsor? Is that Andrew? No, he's the Duke of York. Was it not Mountbatten? Was it the king that stepped down to marry the American actress, the other one? I think so. That would match. I gotta brush up on my British royalty. Okay, this is the last line here. Anonymous voices recalled that Diana and Sarah Ferguson were praised at the beginning of their royal journey as a breath of fresh air. Fergie turned out to be an appallingly bad risk. All right. Whoo! Edward and Wallace Simpson. Yeah. Wallace Simpson. Wallace is a weird girl's name, isn't it? Yeah, she was the actress. Well, of course, she was an actress. It probably wasn't even her real name. Yeah, it does sound like they are following in the footsteps of Edward and Wallace Simpson. For sure. That was a lot, everybody. I apologize that that was so much. It was 2.5 hours. But now we're back on track with how I had the rest of it laid out. So, because we only did one of those chapters I was going to read last week, but I couldn't. All right, so now in the book, we have a bunch of pictures. So I will see if I can make this so that you can see them into, they're all the way from when she was a baby to, I guess, where we are in at Wimbledon. Oh, so that is, oh no. Violet von Westenholz is widely credited with setting up Meghan and Harry, having met Meghan at Wimbledon. So there's a picture of her talking to Meghan at Wimbledon. So we can see her. All right, I will see if I can use my camera, take pictures of them, and then upload them and either show them to you next week or put them together and make it an outro. So that it's something you can watch at the end. All right. I am very excited, though, that we're finally just like talking about them and not just talking about history. Kind of crazy. It seems clearly she was a woman on a mission. It seems clear he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And you can't even say I was going to say he met his match. He didn't meet his match. He's completely overmatched. It's not even like he's playing checkers and she's playing chess. It's like he's playing tiddlywinks or jacks and she's playing chess. They're just completely unmatched intellectually. She is intellectually considerably smarter than he is, but as well, she is just conniving and deceiving and brilliantly masterminding of controlling her environment. People around her, cutting people out when she wants to, making it look like exactly what she wants it to look like. So, this is a super chat here. Oh, the super chats are showing up again. Last night they didn't show up. Oh, but if I click on it, it won't show on the screen. Let's try it this way, though. But if I go to it, I can. There we go. Thanks, Michelle. Super sticker, more specifically. All right. Don't preach to me about the environment when you fly private all the time. I know. It kind of is one of my pet peeves, too. It really is. Yeah, I mean, don't ever fly. You know how expensive it is to fly private. Not only how expensive, just like for the pilot's time and for the plane and all that, but the gas. The amount of wasted gas is insane. It's insane. Okay. David, who married Wallace Simpson. David? Wait. There was no David, was there? Who was the king who stepped down to marry Wallace? Wait, I think it was named something else. And then his brother took over. His brother was the one that had the stutter. And his brother was the father of Queen Elizabeth. He died early from a heart attack, I think. So Queen Elizabeth took over. Wasn't she like a teenager at the time? Like a late teen? Mm-hmm. All kinds of good gossip going back and forth in here about Wallace Simpson and banished to the Caribbean. Well, you know what? I will not be surprised. Oh, David was his name before he became king. Who knew? His king name is Edward. Was Elizabeth a different name before she became queen? I know her nickname was Lilibet, but does everyone get a different name when they become king or queen? This is something I didn't know. I learn every single week here. That's crazy. I have never heard David before. Just Edward, King Edward. Ah. Oh. Thing is, Jenny, she thought she got away with it, and now her chickens are coming home to roost. I know. You can change your name when you're... Okay, so you can change your name if you want to. You can change your name when you're crowned. Ah! Who knew? That's crazy. George. Yeah, George was his brother. Elizabeth's dad. Yeah. That sounds familiar to me. It's coming back. Oh, they were small, so she already had... Charles and Anne were already born. Boy, she looks so young in pictures, doesn't she, when she was crowned? I didn't realize she already had 2 kids. Charles didn't change his name. Well, I mean, it would be weird if he did, right? Because he's so much older. All right. Okay. Oh, gosh. Look at all the names. Okay. I did watch The Crown. It's just been a couple years. But I really need to go back and watch it again. But if I don't watch the F1 racing, which I promised my daughter I would, oh, gosh. It's just hard. It's hard because that's a show you have to watch. Like The Crown, I could make small and do other things on my computer and kind of glance over at it when I need to. So I'm more apt to want to watch The Crown. Whereas this F1 racing stuff, oh, this is just digging into my skull. You have to watch because there's so many racers. There's 20 racers involved in their cars, and then the managers of the teams and everything. So it's any free moment I have, I'm watching F1 racing because there's a million of them. All right. Yeah, she looked like a baby, but she was like in her late 20s. Okay. All right. Oh, that's true. Harry is Harold. That's right. Very interesting. This is a very interesting chat these Wednesday nights. Y'all are learning a lot, and thank goodness we have our resident Englishton. I'm going to keep creating names. All right. I'm going to let you go. I know it's late, everybody. Thank you for sticking it out with me. I really enjoyed those chapters, though. I feel like I'm really learning a lot now, and this is good. That's all I can say. It's good. And I can't wait until we get to the whole wedding stuff, and then I can't wait until we get to her first pregnancy, because the second one, I don't know if it's in the book, if she was... if it came out before then or not, because this isn't a brand new book. But it was on #1 international bestseller, so it was well respected. Okay, all right. I love you all. Thank you for being here. I will see you next week. And for those who are available, same channel here, we will do the 3rd episode of 3 Wives, 1 Husband on Friday night. All right. Good night, everyone. Love you. Bye.
I remember when Sonny and Cher got divorced when I was 6, and it rattled me.
I had a lover in college, and it was a little tryst. I was a naughty boy. I had a dirty thought, and I thought, David and I should go on a guy's trip together.
I might have to agree. That would be cool.
I just thought, no.
David out on a guy's weekend?
Yeah, that's just, it would be cool.
Oh, he was kind of up for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Things that make you go,